getting to know Dynamics 365 Customer Insights at Scottish Summit 2021. I am Scott Roller. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, ScriptRunner, DQ Global, Proximo 3, Redspire, Agilus, and Hitachi Solutions. I am Scott Roller. I'm the founder of 365 Thoughts. My website is 365-thoughts.com. Out there, you can find articles and videos that I've posted. You can also connect with me socially through links to LinkedIn and my YouTube page and my Twitter. I've also posted some things on TikTok that you might be interested in. So I think I might be the only one out there posting Dynamics content on TikTok. So feel free to connect with me, and I'll be posting more content out there. I also have over 10 years of experience in Dynamics 365. I'm a functional architect that focuses on Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, and I'm a certified functional consultant for sales. So let's dive into customer insights, the reason that we're here. And let's start out with the question of why customer insights. So customer insights can provide us with a powerful end-to-end customer experience through marketing, sales, and customer service, or really just any scenario, but that's the one we're going to be looking at as our example today. So we can unsilo our data to guide our processes. We have maybe a lot of different data examples or sites, and we can bring it all together to form one customer insight or one example of the customer. We can gather that data at each touch point. We can tell the story of data interaction, and we can make accurate predictions along the way. So the example that we have here in our graphic is starting out with marketing, where we generate some leads. We use those leads in a campaign. Maybe we've gathered those leads through our website, and then we can provide content and recommendations to our sales team on how to proceed with those leads, along with next best actions. And then hopefully we sell that customer, and then we can provide customer service to them on the back end through omnichannel support and maybe even cross-sell, upsell opportunities. But we've done all of that through the gathering of the data from maybe different databases and then making insights into how to best serve that customer all the way through from marketing to sales to service. Then moving on to more of the technical approach of how Customer Insights works, an overview. We have many different connectors, and the last time I looked, I think it was around 144 connectors, both external and internal. Internal being internal to Microsoft, and external, external sources that we may be pulling data from. So we can connect to these connectors and connect as many as we want in our Customer Insights instance. And once we've connected to this data, now we can start the unification process. We can ingest, map, and match and enrich that data. And we can get a 365-degree view of our customer, both from a demographic, a transactional, and a behavioral viewpoint to get that 365 view. And then once we have everything unified, we can move on to getting some insights about our data. So we can use analytics and Microsoft AI and Azure ML or machine logic to run our data through these models to get better analysis and give some recommendations on how we might use that data. I'm going to show a little bit later how that works and show you an example of an Azure ML model a little bit later in this demonstration. So, and then lastly, we have action. So how do we take action on our data? We can obviously use the Power Platform, which is a big part of this. We gather all the data, we unify it, and we run it through some insights. And then we can use the Power Platform, Power BI, to create some really cool graphics and show graphically to to the different end users, or maybe C-suite of executives on how everything is going. Maybe to the retail team on how sales are going, and from the analytics that we've gathered into Power BI. We can also use Microsoft Flow or Power Automate to automate and trigger different responses based on the data that we've gathered, and maybe some of the changes or the insights that we've gotten to trigger email, or to trigger announcements, or to trigger a flag to be changed, or any number of different things. But we can base that off of the data that we have gathered in Customer Insights. And then with Power Apps, we can use Power Apps as model-driven apps inside of Dynamics 365, or create Canvas apps. And I'm going to show an example of a Canvas app at a coffee shop here in a few minutes. But we can show how we can gather data, give data out to the end users, and make that Power App really shine in between the data and the end user experience. And so we can use all of these Power Platform tools in our system of engagement. These would be the different departments or areas of our business that we'd want to use this data and gather data and use it and give it back. So we may, sales is a big example of that. We've already touched on customer service. We could use this in a retail environment, and maybe even make some insights on finance. So we can make some decisions based on financially how the company's doing and how our customers are doing. Beyond that, there's several different ways that we can interact with the data as well. So we have our systems of engagement, our channels of engagement, and that could be accessed through mobile applications on our phone or a tablet. We could just get to it through the web, through a web browser. We can get to it and use social interaction, maybe Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that, to gather and interact with our data. We can create pre-built bots that would gather and interact with our customers, and that would provide data back to us. And then the classic kind of in-person model, where we are interacting in person with the Power App or the website with the data. So that's a quick little overview. Let's get into a demo on how this works and see exactly what we're talking about and what Customer Insights actually is. So this is the Customer Insights application, cloud application online through Microsoft. This is the back end, or the way that we can build it out, and then we'd probably most likely not display it in here, but display it in Power BI or Power App or something like that, something different. But this is where we build it, and we can get some quick visualizations in here as well. So on this homepage, we can see some segmentations that we've segmented out. So we have 3.4 thousand members of the high risk return group. We have 770 members of the summer promo group. If we come on down here into measures, we have used some of this data to make calculations through measures. So the average web purchase value is $139.72. The average store purchase value is $112.41. We can get a quick view of that, and we'll show later how we're going to put that into a better visualization for everybody. But this is kind of the home screen for everything. And then we have enrichments, where we can go in and we can see different brands that customers are interested in, or maybe we're interested in our competitors, and we want to know how many customers are interested in our competitors. Well, we can put those into the brands. We can also just get some general interests and see if we have a coffee shop, we can find out how many customers maybe are interested in muffins or newspapers or things like that. And I'm going to show that here in a few minutes as well. So let's start out by talking about the data, which is where everything kind of starts. I've loaded in some data sources, into this Customer Insights instance. And we have Contoso Hotel data, and we're going to show later that Contoso Hotel in this scenario has a coffee shop. So that'll be our main point of view for this demo. Then we have some customer service data. We have some e-commerce data. We have some loyalty data, and we have some point of sale data and some website data. If we drill down into this a little bit more, hopefully this won't take too long to load. There we go. We can see the raw data that was gathered, and we can mess around with this in our Power Query. We can add and remove columns. We can sort it, do all different things here in Power Query. And I've already done all that work for all those data sources. So let's go back out. Let's leave this page. And let's look at the entities that we have now from our data. We have activities. This is all in also the Dataverse. So we're talking about the common Dataverse, and we're going to unify this data into one set of data in the Dataverse. So we have our activities, we have our enrichment, our intelligence that we're going to look at later. We have some measures. We have our profile, which is our common customer that we built. We have some segments that we're going to show. And then we have some user and some system data down here also. So let's look at that unify process. We have our data sources, and now we need to unify it. We need to map, match, and merge our data. So when we get into the mapping process, we have all of our different data sources here, and we're going to tell Customer Insights what type of data we have. So our address one city field for our contacts, we're going to tell it that it's a location city. And all the way down through here, we can, we're going to tell all of the different address fields, and then we have an email field, and we even have a image reference field. We have our names, our gender, and our telephone number. And we're going to do that for each data source. So for e-commerce contacts, we see we have very similar data. We have maybe less fields, but similar things that we're going to match on later. So we have a city and contact ID and country and date of birth and email and our name and our gender and on down the line. And we're going to see later how that matches and merges together. And then for the hotel customers, we have a little bit less data, but still we have some matching values here. So we have, our cities and our country that we can match on, and email is always a good one to match on because normally most people have a unique email address, so that's a good matching value. And then we have our loyalty scheme information, and once again, it's very similar. We could also go in here and we could edit some fields and choose which ones we want to either show or not show in our mapping exercise. And as you can see here for the contacts, we've actually chosen not to view a few and have chosen others. So if we move on to the match, we can look at what this means. So we're going to define our rules here in the matching for matching and deduplication of our data. So we can see right up front that we have over 20,000 unique source records, and we have matched and unmatched records of 14,931, and that includes almost 10,000 non-matched records, and then we have matched records of 5,000. So here's some of the rules that we use to match on. For our loyalty scheme, we are matching on full name and email address. For our hotel customers, we're matching on full name. And for our customer service contacts, we are matching on email address. So through this, we're going to build a unified data set. So let's come up here and look at our customer base. After we've gone through, actually, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. That was the matching process. Let's talk about merge first, and then we'll talk about the customers. So in our merging, this is where we merge the data together. We've mapped it, we've matched it. Now we're going to merge it. So we are going to merge all of our first names together. So we're going to select what are the first name values for all of our data sources. We're going to do the same thing for last name. for full name, for date of birth, and we could do this for as many different fields as you wanted to. In this case, we found that these are the most important fields for doing that merge function on name, date of birth, gender, email, and telephone. And we've created some keys off of that information. And then we've removed actually some information from the customer record too that we didn't want to show up in that final customer record. So after we do all that, and along the way, we need to run each process. And I haven't really talked about that yet, but when we mapped, we should have run. When we matched, we would have run, and we would have gotten the results after we ran the data set. And that takes a few minutes to do. But that run process then gives you the results that in the end will produce our customers. And so this is where I jumped ahead to a little while ago, a little prematurely, but we have our set of customers that provides customer cards. And let's just look at Laura's customer card here real fast. This is a combining of all of the data that we just looked at into one customer card or one centralized. And this is what Customer Insights is going to use for its analysis and for its insights AI type of training. We have a customer ID, and we have that unified first name, last name. We have her date of birth and her gender, her email address and her telephone number, all this contact information that you would kind of expect that we've already looked at before. And then down below, we can see, okay, what is her total club points value from her loyalty program? And what's her lifetime spend at the coffee shop? Well, she spent $3,916 with the coffee shop so far. And then we also have some timelines. So we brought in some, if you remember back to our data sources, we brought in some activity data. And so here are all of her activities that are assigned to her. She gave a couple of website reviews. She has some point of sale purchase information. She has an online purchase. And we can see we can see dated values and all of the different touch points that she's made into our company. And Customer Insights obviously can use that data for making inferences about how we should sell and with the reviews, how well people like our business. It looks like that she didn't have any interest or brand affinity values. We'll look at that in a little while and we'll see what that means. But none of that's showing up here in her customer card. But then her average web value from a measure that we'll get to in a little bit. All of these are calculated measures, the calculations off of the data. So her average web purchase was this amount, and her average store purchase was this amount. So let's move right into the measures calculations at this point. And if we get down here in the left navigation, we click on measures. We can see that in this example, we have 6 different measures. And we are calculating things like average web purchase value, average web purchase, average store value, and total club points on down the line. So let's dig into one of these and see how they're put together and how they work. So in the average web purchase value, what we're doing is we're basically just taking an average. We're using this function drop-down value to take an average of the e-commerce total price. So let's take an average of the total price, and that's our average web purchase value. Come down here a little bit farther and we look at our total club points, and all we're doing there is just taking a sum. So once again, we're using these functions over here on the left side. We're taking a sum of the reward points added from the from the point of sale purchases. Now let's look at one more real quick. And this is just the average store purchase. So this is the average of the total price of the point of sale purchases. So those are, pretty straightforward. We're just doing calculations off of data that we already have. And those calculations are generally sums, averages, counts, first, last, min, max of different values that we have. So now let's talk about segmentation. We can segment our data as well into different groups. So we have our list of customers, we've unified it. Now we want to segment into different groups. And so let's look and see how we've segmented out the customer promo group of people. In this one, we can see that our first item that we're segmenting by is actually a measure that we had back in that measures area that we just looked at, the measures module. The customer measure, the average store purchase price, if that's equal to or greater than 113. So we've done a calculation. The average store purchase value is equal to or greater than 113 for a customer. Their date of birth is greater than 1981 and is less than 1996. So we want a segment of a birth range, segment a certain age of people. And then we want to run all that through all of our records that are in our customer list in Customer Insights. And we'll come up with that list of people that we want to target for our summer promo. And if you remember back on our homepage, that summer promo value was 770 unique different people that we would be able to target then. So in our segments, we have that summer promo. We can also look at the high risk for churn. So the way we define that was in a little bit here, we're going to see the Azure ML model, and when we get the scored probabilities in the Azure ML model, it is greater than 0.8, then that is our high risk for churn group of customers. So that is the measures and the segments. So let's move on here into some artificial intelligence and get into brand affinity and interests and into the Azure machine learning information. This is really kind of the cool stuff. We've built all the model, we've done the measures, we've done the segments, but now let's let Microsoft and its intelligence kind of give us some feedback. So if we get down here into data and enrichments, we can see this is where brands and interests lie. If we dig into brands, we can see that we have a large percentage of our customer population has a high probability of liking Starbucks. And this is all based on Microsoft Graph data. So Microsoft has gone out, done a lot of research on its own, provided graph data back into Customer Insights. When we feed our customer base into it, so based on demographics and date of birth, where people live, things along those lines, their addresses, it'll say, okay, here's a high percentage, or here's what our percentages of what they might like brand-wise. And we wanted to know different coffees, since our scenario here is a coffee shop. We wanted to know what of our competitors would they have a possibility of liking. So there's a high percentage of Starbucks, some Dunkin' Donuts, and on down the line. So let's edit this and see how we set this up. We came in here to, we could choose an industry or we could choose our own brands. I chose just several coffee brands that I thought would be interesting to include here. We wanted to choose a level of match. So in this case, this is a medium match, and we wanted exact match precision with a medium profile. And then down here below, we needed to map some fields in here for this brand to take into account. So we gave it the date of birth, the gender, the postal code, the city, the state, and the country that these people lived in. And then that's what the percentages or the AI was built off of. If we get into interests, this is where we can see just in generally what people are interested in, maybe not brand wise, but coffee and grocery, beverages, coffee, tea, and coffee and espresso. So this is basically the same as we saw before, but instead of choosing actual brands, now we're just choosing general interests that the customer base might be interested in. And it's built out the same way. I've given interest values here, the exact match, and the field mappings. Then if we move on into the Azure machine learning model, This is a machine learning model that was built for me for this scenario. But this can get, as you can see, pretty complex. But what we're doing in here is we're going through metadata, we're joining the data, we're applying SQL transformation, we're joining the data back up again. At the top, we're importing data, and we're going to get all the way down to the bottom where we're providing this. We're scoring the model and providing it as a web service output that then Customer Insights is going to use to provide its feedback. So let's look at taking action on this data. This is our Canvas app for the data that we have. We built this Canvas app. It's going in and it's actually collecting data and giving it to Customer Insights, and Customer Insights is providing data into this Canvas app. So we have a home area, just what we're seeing here. We can get into the customer search, and this is we'll search on the customer list that we already saw in Customer Insights. So these are all of our customers, and this is generally would be kind of provided for the workers in the coffee shop to see who the customers are. There's also a customer check-in, so we can check the customers in and know when they've been in each store. We can see the different locations of our coffee shop here. So some of this is customer related. They can go in and they can see what location is close to them. We can get a different profiles of the different coffees that we provide. So this definitely is customer related. They can go in and choose the different coffees that they may want to buy. And if we took this a little bit farther, we could probably even make this into an online purchase situation through our Power App. And then we're selling also coffee machines. So we can get in here, we can sell these coffee machines that people could use at home. So this is our Power App. As I mentioned before, we're collecting data, we're giving data back, but it's all based on centered around the Customer Insights model. So if we get into Power Automate, the coffee check-in that I mentioned before in the Power App looks something like this, and it's very simple, but it's based on the Power App. And then when you get in the Power App and you select the check-in, the Power Automate flow is going to connect to the Customer Insights environment. It's going to create a new Contoso check-ins record, which is a new entity type. And then it's going to put in the subject of a check-in at Contoso Boutique, and it's going to relate that to the customer that was logged into the Power App. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't only have to be this scenario. It could be sending of emails or giving notification or changing values in the database if we wanted to. Power Automate is very flexible in a lot of different ways there. And then here might be the most exciting part, other than the Power App, is this Power BI visual, where we can provide this to our upper management or to the retail team to show how our average in-store purchase is going for this month or for whatever time period. What's the reason for purchase? What is the store purchase volume? All of this information is very powerful and very graphical and gives a lot of feedback and once again linked right into Customer Insights. So we're getting that actively. We're getting the data and then we're actively displaying it real time, so people can make decisions on that data. We could even put in some of that brand and affinity information to show, well, maybe how we need to change things up based on the Microsoft Graph information and the Azure ML model that we've built. So anyway, we are getting close to time here, and I want to give some time for some questions and answers. So let's move into my final part of this presentation. And let's just talk about the summary. So in summary, Dynamics 365 Customer Insights is a low-code, no-code platform with the purpose of unifying data and providing automated data analysis. Customer Insights uses measures, segments, Microsoft Graph data, and Azure ML models to tell stories and make predictions based on the data collected. And Customer Insights is focused on customer-related use cases and supporting data sources that will provide the analysis. This presentation will be uploaded to YouTube after 14 days and will be a part of the Scottish Summit YouTube channel. I thank you for your time today, and I think we'll have roughly 10 minutes for question and answer if my calculations are right. So feel free to continue to type in text questions, and we will answer those for you. Thanks a lot for your time today, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.